Strike a match right now, watch it. That tiny flame appears in less than a second. You don't think about it, you don't feel grateful for it. You've done it 1,000 times, but somewhere in your brain, something ancient recognizes what you're holding. Because for most of human history, that moment, fire appearing on demand, was impossible. Not difficult, not rare, impossible. Here's what nobody tells you. Fire existed on Earth for hundreds of millions of years before any human controlled it. Lightning struck dry grass, and the plains burned. Volcanoes split open, and rivers of fire rolled down to the sea. Our ancestors watched it from a distance the same way they watched a lion eat, with fear, with hunger, with absolutely no idea how to get closer without dying. They could use fire if they were lucky enough to find it still burning after a strike. They would carry a smoldering branch from a natural fire and guard it like the most valuable thing on Earth, because it was. But they could not make it, and when it went out, it was gone. Sometimes for weeks, sometimes forever. For roughly 2 million years, every human and every human ancestor lived at the mercy of fire. They didn't start it. They found it, borrowed it, nursed it, prayed it didn't die in the rain. Try to actually sit with that for a second. 2 million years. That's not a number that fits inside a human brain. Modern humans have existed for about 300,000 years. Agriculture is only 12,000 years old. The United States is 250 years old. 2 million years of watching the smoke and not knowing how to make it happen again. And then someone figured it out. One person, or maybe a small group, in one specific moment on one specific day somewhere on this planet made fire appear where there was no fire before. They didn't download a tutorial, they didn't read about it, they figured it out from scratch using nothing but rocks or sticks and whatever was burning inside their mind. And that moment split human history into two completely different stories, before and after. Because everything you are, everything your species became, everything you take for granted right now, traces a direct line back to whatever happened on that day, to whoever was holding those rocks, to whatever made them try. Before that moment, night was a different thing entirely, not inconvenient, not uncomfortable, lethal. When the sun dropped below the horizon, your ancestors stopped moving, not because they were tired, because moving in the dark meant dying in the dark. Leopards hunt at night, hyenas hunt at night. Every serious predator on the African savanna has eyes built for darkness. Your ancestors did not. Human night vision is embarrassingly bad compared to almost everything that wanted to eat them. So when the light went, they went still, they climbed trees, they pressed themselves into rock crevices. They held their children close and waited for morning and hoped that was enough. Think about what that actually meant for life. Half of every single day was lost. Not resting, not thinking, not planning, just surviving the darkness by disappearing into it. If you lived to 40, 20 of those years were spent in terrified stillness after sunset. You couldn't work, you couldn't move camp, you couldn't do anything except stay quiet and hope whatever was out there didn't find you tonight, and cold. People forget about the cold. Africa is not warm at night. The same savanna that bakes at 100 degrees during the day drops to the 40s after dark. Without shelter, without insulation, without any way to generate heat on demand, your body was on its own. Infants died, elderly people died, anyone already weak from injury or illness died faster when the temperature dropped. Cold wasn't a discomfort, cold was a slow killer that picked off the vulnerable every single night, every single winter across millions of years. Food was the third wall closing in. Without fire, everything was eaten raw. Meat, roots, whatever could be found and chewed. Raw food takes enormous energy to digest. Your gut has to do brutal chemical work to break it down, and even then you pull fewer calories out of it than you would from the same food cooked. Early humans needed massive digestive systems just to survive on what they were eating. They were burning enormous energy just to process their meals, leaving less for everything else, less for movement, less for warmth, less for the brain. This was the ceiling. This was the hard limit of what a human life could be before fire. Trapped between darkness and dawn, between cold and starvation, between what they were and what they were about to become. Every night ending the same way. Waiting, watching, hoping the sun came back before something in the dark decided it didn't have to wait anymore. Nobody knows their name. Nobody knows what they looked like. Nobody carved their face into stone or buried them with ceremony, or left any record that this person existed at all. But somewhere between 400,000 and 1 million years ago, a single human being did something that had never happened before. They made fire from nothing, and the world that existed before that moment never came back. Here's what scientists believe actually happened. It wasn't one sudden genius idea. It was probably accidental first. Someone was working with stones, shaping a tool, striking flint against iron pyrite, and saw a spark jump. Or they were spinning a dry wooden stick against a flat piece of softer wood, the way humans had done for other reasons, and noticed the dust at the base beginning to glow. The spark existed for maybe 2 seconds. then it was gone. But something in that brain noticed. Something connected what they saw to what they needed. And that connection, that single firing of neurons in one specific skull on one specific afternoon, changed everything that came after. Now think about what happened next, because this is the part that gets lost. Seeing a spark is not making fire. Between that first accidental spark and a controlled, reliable, repeatable flame, there is an enormous distance. Distance measured in failures, in burned fingers, in sparks that died before they caught, in tinder that was too wet, too dense, too dry, positioned wrong, blown out by wind, smothered by shaking hands. The first human who made fire on purpose didn't do it once. They did it wrong dozens of times, maybe hundreds, before they understood. They had to learn the exact pressure, the exact angle, the exact material, the exact moment to stop and let the ember breathe. They had to think across time in a way most animals cannot. Not just what is happening right now, but what needs to happen next, and the step after that, and the result that exists 3 minutes in the future if every step goes right. Picture them, crouched on the ground somewhere, hands moving, eyes fixed on the point of contact between wood and wood or stone and stone. The rest of the group watching, or maybe not watching, maybe they had seen this before and walked away because nothing ever happened. And then the smoke started to curl, and the tiny orange point appeared in the dust, and they leaned down and cupped their hands around it like it was the most fragile thing, and they blew, slowly, carefully, the way you would breathe on something you were terrified of losing. And the ember caught the tinder, and the tinder caught the kindling, and the fire was real. That person looked at what they had made and understood something no human before them had. Whenever we need it, wherever we are, that thought forming in that skull in that moment was the beginning of a chain reaction that has not stopped since. That fire they made is still burning, not literally, but trace any flame you've ever seen back far enough. You eventually arrive at the same place. Every campfire, every candle, every gas stove, every rocket engine, every power plant running on combustion right now on this planet descends from the same discovery, the same motion, the same hands figuring out the same trick for the very first time. The chain never broke. It just kept passing forward generation to generation for hundreds of thousands of years until it reached you. Think about what that one moment unlocked. Within generations, cooking transformed the human body. Guts shrank because cooked food required less digestion. The energy that had been feeding massive intestines rerouted upward into the brain. The human brain doubled in size in an evolutionary eye blink. Language got more complex, tools got more sophisticated, social groups got larger, because people could now gather around a fire at night instead of disappearing into terrified silence. Stories started, music probably started. Every single thing that makes humans different from every other animal on this planet accelerated the moment we stopped waiting for lightning and started making our own. There is a direct line from that first controlled flame to every piece of technology you touch today. The phone in your pocket runs on electricity generated mostly by burning something. The car you drove was moved by controlled explosions. The food you ate was cooked. The building you're in was built with metal smelted in fire. The medicine that has kept people you love alive was developed in laboratories lit and heated and powered by the descendants of that first spark. You cannot find a single corner of modern human life that fire did not build. Not one. And here is the thing that should stop you for a second. That person had no idea. They had no concept of electricity or medicine or cities or anything that came after. They were cold and hungry and trying to solve a problem that existed about 12 hours into the future. They weren't trying to change the world, they were trying to get through the night. And in doing that, in solving that one immediate problem with the materials in front of them and the mind they had been given, they accidentally handed every generation that followed them the most powerful tool in human history. You are alive because they figured it out. Your brain, your language, your civilization, your ability to read these words in a warm room without any fear of what's outside in the dark, all of it started there with one person, one spark, one breath, and a fire that never went out.